Okay, I think this is working. Hopefully, a bunch of you will come on in, and I think it's 50 followers already, so that's pretty exciting. This is Jetta. For those who follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen Jetta before, so she's going to be part of the stream tonight. Oh my God, we've already got a few people. Hey, Aaron is here and Little Brights. G'day. Thanks so much for joining me tonight. How's everyone feeling? Like, this is super crazy time, and I think the main part I wanted to do this stream for is, I guess, well, first of all, I have a lot of downtime now, and oh, there's someone from Argentina. Hello, how you going? It's Brit, Little Brit. Little Brit is his Brit. Jacob's in the house, Ash is in the house. This is so cool. Thank you so much for coming. This is like, I'm actually, my heart is very warm at the moment. It's been a really shit time for everyone. So like, thank you so much for jumping in on the stream. Katie, I feel you. Homeschool, yeah, I feel you. I think we're all bunkering in and just doing the best we can. And yeah, look, I really appreciate you tuning in. Basically, I have a lot of downtime. I know that a lot of you email me and ask me questions, or DM me and ask me questions, and often it's actually really overwhelming and I just can't respond to everybody in the way that I'd like to respond. So when all this shit went down, and you know, most of you will know that we had a tour with Rule cancelled a little while ago, actually postponed, but so I kind of had a month gap in my calendar, and that has now extended to a longer gap. So I guess I mainly wanted to connect with a lot of people that have really expressed that you are interested in music photography. I want to give you a bit of a background on how I came here, how I started, how I came to work with Rule, like all of those things that you ask me constantly, what I use, what different software and programs that I use. Yeah, I kind of want to cover all of that. So if you hang around, Tani Jade's in the house, Ruby's in the house. Oh my God, this is so cool. It's, yeah, super awesome that you're all listening to the stream. So going to give you a bit of a background. Some of you might have heard the story before, some of you might have not. Yeah, I don't know, we'll see how it goes. I'm super new to this, so I'll shout out to Aaron who's on the stream. He's set this whole thing up for me. I'm totally untech savvy when it comes to these sort of things, so thank you so much to Aaron, you're a bloody legend. Brendan's in the house, Alana. This is quite overwhelming, so I was expecting to stream to nobody, so this is so cool. Anyway, just keep saying hi, and I'll shout you out when I see you, as well as telling my story, I guess. So, okay, so, this is, my pupper is too cute. This is Jetta. Did everyone miss that? She's a Brussels Griffin. She's my baby. And Calvin is somewhere. My other dog. You'll definitely notice him you'll see him. My husband might pop in at some stage as well. Yeah. Anyway, let me give you a bit of background to me. So, my name is Michelle. Some people know me as MGH. Got that nickname a little while ago. I came into music photography really late. So, I'm definitely one of those people that didn't find their passion until they were a lot older. I was 31 when I picked up a camera. I didn't have any interest in photography before that. I didn't really do it at high school. So anyone that tells you that you need to, 100% know what you do when you finish high school, like, that's bullshit. You can find your place later on. It's totally fine. So there's a kind of a huge backstory before music photography, but you don't need to know that. All you need to know is that I had a business that failed miserably. went down in flames and shit, like almost like went bankrupt, almost like lost our house and shit, like terrible, terrible time. Through that period, my husband bought me a camera for Christmas. He noticed that I really liked taking photos at parties. I like to document things, like not in a photographic sense. I just like to document stuff and pop it on Facebook and be like, this is, went to this party and it was really cool. So he bought me a camera for Christmas and I just like threw myself into it. I think one of the reasons is that I just had this business that had like failed miserably and I was super depressed. I didn't know what to do with my life. I couldn't imagine starting all over again. Hello to the new people as well. How you going? I just couldn't imagine starting like all over again in a corporate career, like, trying to climb the ladder all over again. It was just too overwhelming. So I threw myself into photography, and around about the same time, I got in contact with an old friend of mine. I'm from Shepparton, and if those of you know the music scene in Australia, there's a rapper from Shepparton, his name is Briggs. Now, I've known Briggs since he was like 4 years old. His sister was my best friend in high school, and I hadn't seen him in about 10 years. And he told me that he was a rapper, and I was like, radio, like whatever. And then he sent me some of his music, and it was like, I was so blown away. I was so impressed with the talent, and it just, I guess, sparked a bit of a passion for me to discover local grown music. I was very ignorant to it from that point, and I just kind of like immersed myself in the music scene in Australia. I just started just rocking up to gigs, like literally just going to whatever gig where people will have me. Basically, I would like I've always been really big into Twitter, and I used to just contact artists on Twitter, like, and not big artists. These are like really local, very small gigs. Maybe like 50 people would go to the show, really, really small venues. And I just started rocking up and just saying to the guys, hey, can I come along? Can I bring my camera? And they would be like, sure. Like, nobody was really documenting the Australian hip hop scene at that point. So like, it was really, really good timing to get involved and kind of immerse myself in the community and start making friends, basically. Like, I just really genuinely had a connection to the people that I was meeting in the community, and I think that was the thing that really clicked for me, is that there was just like a genuine connection, and people could see that I was really passionate about the genre, and I just like wanted to shine a light on Australian hip hop at that stage. Jacob, I can't run Rules Twitter. I've tried to get him to like Twitter, but he doesn't, so soz. Anyway, so I think this was about 2012, and I basically made a goal for myself. I wanted to be Australia's most well-known hip-hop photographer. That was like my goal. And so I guess the way for me that I thought that I could do that is all the artists needed to know who I was. Like, I needed to work with the artists, and I just thought going to shows, like, yeah, that's cool and they'll know who I am, but I wanted like a more one-on-one connection with people so that the relationship was, I guess, more solid. There was like a friendship there. So I made a list of 10 hip-hop artists that I wanted to work with. And I can't remember all of them, but I remember it was like Illy, Seth Sentry, 360, Draft. It was like people like that. I didn't know any of these people at that stage. And I was like, cool, well, like, how do I get to work with these people? And I just kind of started to contact them. I'd contact them one by one, and then they would introduce me to somebody else. And so that list of 10 kind of kept growing. And it ended up being a 2-year project that was called Rise in the end. It ended up being my first kind of really major project, and it turned into a book, which was pretty cool. So the book came out in 2014. Had really, really great community support. It was actually funded via Possible. I did a Possible campaign, and I ended up raising, I think it was close to like $30,000. So I raised all the money I needed to print the physical books, which was, super cool. It was really, really well supported, which was just like super overwhelming, and it, I guess, really cemented me in the Australian music landscape as a photographer, and I guess people started knowing who I was at that stage, which is really cool. So this is like back in 2014. So like, like a lot of people think that, you can just pick up a camera and off you go, and, you get this incredible career and you get to work with all these really amazing artists, but it's definitely like the long game, and you definitely have to do the hard yards and make your connections and stuff like that, I guess. So the project I did after Rise was another really major project called Her Sound, Her Story, which was a project about shining a light on women in music. So like I'd got to the end of Rise, which was like this 2-year project. I'd worked with 182 different artists, and like the majority of them were men. So, hang on. Ellie's got a question. I didn't know you from Shepparton. When did you decide that you needed to... Oh, that's a really good question. Let me... it's Elle, I think it is. When did you decide you wanted to move to the city? That's actually a really good question. I always knew that I was going to move to the city, probably from the time I was about 12. I just felt like Shepparton was very small town in terms of, it was limited in terms of the opportunity. I very much saw myself having a bigger life than Shepparton could offer me, if that makes sense. So it's Alan. Okay, hi Alan. So I moved to Melbourne when I just turned 18, and I actually studied sports science because I was like a mad basketballer and obsessed with sport. So it's a huge roundabout story about how I got here, but essentially I did a degree in human movement, which is sports science, and I ended up working in sports marketing for quite a few years. Worked for the NBL and I worked for AFL footy. I went for Melbourne Footy Club in the AFL. So I actually had a really pretty amazing career and stuff before music photography even came along, which is cool because it kind of set me up for like a lot of the skills that I have now in terms of just like business stuff, in terms of like invoicing and marketing and just being able to navigate the world. And so that's pretty cool. That's a good question, Alan. So definitely, like it's really hard. I know there's a couple of photographers like Ruby and Gab and a few that don't live in the city, and they're constantly traveling and doing the hard yards, and I totally get it. It's really hard when you are living in a smaller city. So, the bigger concerts are happening in Melbourne or Sydney, or so sometimes you either need to travel and stuff like that. Tilly's just asked what I do with the AFL. I was actually working at Melbourne Footy Club, and I started off as them a marketing coordinator, and I ended up being promoted to their event manager. So I was doing events for a couple of years. It feels like a totally different life. I was talking about Her Sound, Her Story, which was like the project I did after Rise. Some of you might know about it maybe. Basically, it was a 4-year labour of love that was very much about shining a light on women in Australian music. I could see that there was like a lot of discussion around why is there a gender disparity in music. There's the same amount of women and men are studying music. So it's like 50-50 that are studying music and going to university and doing all those things. But when they come to actually make music and register with APRA and actually put music out, it actually drops off to about 20%. It's actually a little bit better now, but this was 5 or 6 years ago. So I really wanted to, I guess, the conversation was about the gender disparity being there, but no one was actually having the conversation about why. Like, why is this happening? Why are so many women dropping off? Like, what are the issues around that? So it kind of really sparked a passion to find out what was going on. And yeah, I originally was going to do just a photo series, and it was just going to be like photos of all these really amazing women, and maybe I would do an exhibition. But I realized that the conversation was actually bigger than just photographs. So I asked my friend Claudia, who's an incredible filmmaker, to come on board, and we decided to, while I was taking the photographs, we would interview everybody and like potentially make a documentary, which at that time we had no idea what that meant. And I don't know if we knew how hard the next 4 years of our life would be, we might have not done it. But it was like completely self-funded, so we didn't have any funding for it. It was just the two of us that did absolutely everything. And when I say everything, I mean like, you know, we shot it, the sound, all of the editing is done by Claudia, all of the graphics, all of the animation, like every little thing that you need to make a documentary. Hello, Maggles? What up? Simone's there as well, hey. Yeah. Maggie. Oh, Maggie. G'day, Maggie. Yeah, so, I mean, like, the one good thing that came out about, I mean, yeah, her sound, her story was like, it was like a life-changing project for me, because it not only, I guess, career-wise really cemented myself as a photographer within the music industry, but had just met so many incredible people, and it was such a awesome project that had such big impact. If anybody wants to watch the documentary, everyone's really bored at home right now. You can watch it on Vimeo on demand. Go chuck us a stream. That would be super handy right now. You can rent it or buy it. But you'll see it's a really, really beautiful film. It's definitely not taking like a victim mentality when it comes to women. It's like really showing the strength of women, and how, like, even though there are all of these extra obstacles and extra adversity, I guess, like, these women are so incredible, and we really need to support you know, female creatives and artists, especially, you know, during this time. So yeah, there's something for you guys to do if you want to watch a film. It's like, you know, it's only just over an hour, so it's not that long. Yeah, so her sound, her story was like, yeah, 4 or 5 years of my life. Actually, yeah, it's one of, I'm just trying to think like what my biggest achievement was. Between Rise and her sound, like both of those are such big, they're like, it's like birthing a creative child. You work on this thing for so many years, and then it's like out in the public, and yeah, it's hard to explain what that feels like. These are such big projects where you're working with, you know, hundreds of people, and they take so much time, and it's, you know, they're side projects. It's like I'm still doing my business every day and still working with artists or still touring, and then also doing this other project. So it's like so many hours, and yeah, it's hello Megan, how you going? Yeah, so it's been a really good journey. It's been really eye-opening. It completely changed my perspective on just working with women in general. I think I'd had a really interesting experience working in male-dominated fields my entire life, and this is something really interesting to touch on because I feel like, as a young woman, sometimes it can be really tricky to navigate, especially in something like music photography. Like, it's still so male dominated, and sometimes you can feel like you get pushed around or your confidence can take a bit of a beating. And one thing that her sound definitely made me realize is that you really got to get around each other and support each other and know that everything that we're going through, like, we all experience those things. And I think that it's definitely, I think people that know me well will know that over the last couple of years I've become really passionate about mentoring young women, especially young female music photographers. It's something that I just didn't have when I was younger. I just didn't have any support. I had to navigate my way through by myself and work out, what do you charge? How do you, approach people, or how do you navigate the industry? So, I mean, that's another thing that I really want to get out of these streams is like teaching people all the things that I've learned that I just didn't have. Hey Tilly, I'm definitely gonna touch on that in a sec in terms of rules. So I know that most people definitely want to hear about that. So actually, it's probably a good time to touch on it now. It's like around the time of her sound and working with Rule kind of happened similar times. So the team that works with Rule now, and people that know the team really intimately definitely know all the team. So I'm talking about people like Nate, his manager, and Jeremy, his creative director, Joel, who does all these videos. Like, we've known each other for so many years, like way before Rule came onto the scene, and a lot of us had been actually working together for many years. So when I was talking about my book before, Rise, so Rule's manager Nate actually co-produced my book. He was one of the first people that I met in the scene, and one of the first people I shot for the book was M Phases, which is so wild. And I met M Phases, and he was like, you need to meet Nate, he's my manager. He's kind of knows everybody within the industry that you'd like to know. Nate was actually a hip hop DJ at that point, and also managing quite a few artists. So the generosity of Nate at that time, where he basically was like, I love this idea, and he helped me kind of get in contact with all of the artists across Australia that I was really interested in shooting with. And then he kind of put his hand up to be the distributor of my book. So we kind of co-produced the book together. So, this is going back to 2012 when this happened. So that's how long I've known Nate. And Jeremy, Grey Ghost, is he also known. He's in my book, but he also did all the design and the layout for the book. So yeah, this team of people have been like working together like for years and years before Rule came along. And so when Nate started working with Rule and, started to put a little team together around him, there was a little ready-made team there ready to go, I guess. And the good thing is that, we all just really clicked, and it just became like family. And anyone that knows us, or has, followed us for the last couple of years, can see how much we genuinely really like each other, and it is like a family, and which is handy because we are, constantly working with each other and touring with each other, and living in each other's pockets essentially. So that's really handy that we actually like each other and we like working together. But I mean, the other thing is that the whole team really is very much about like producing the best quality of work that that all of us can produce at one time. Like, it's like we're constantly driving each other to like be better. And yeah, I think that's really interesting. I mean, like, every single one of us have, a really, really incredibly high work ethic, and we want the stuff that we produce for Rule as an artist to be the highest possible caliber that can be at any time. So like we're constantly helping each other to be better and be the best that we can be, and yeah, help out on, we all help out on video clips, or Joel will send me a video and go, hey, what do you think of this? Like it'll be the behind the scenes for some tour or whatever, and we're always just helping each other out, giving each other a little high five. So yeah. So that's kind of like where I am now. Last year was probably the best career year of my life. I'd made a goal when I went freelance that I wanted to, like, there was like a number in my mind that I was like, okay, when I earn this amount of money, then I feel like I would have achieved what I'd want to in a creative space. And like, it's definitely not all about money, but I'd always set myself a kind of like a financial goal to get to, which I reached last year, and was super proud of myself, because it's incredibly difficult to have a creative job and earn a decent living. So I was really proud that happened. And the other thing that I was really proud of is that I actually feel like I was creating my best work last year. And who's some new people I just want to say hi to? Tizia, how you going? And yes, I don't know, is it Fee? Yes. Can you say you and the team are like family? We're like quite literally family. We actually like hanging out each other like socially and stuff as well, so it's quite wild. But yeah, so I just had a really awesome year last year. So personally, creatively, financially, like all of the things felt like it came together. The one thing that I always really wanted to do was to tour, and I did a little bit of touring a couple of years ago with Rule. We went to Japan, and then we did an Asia tour, but last year was like, a really solid block of touring, and that's just been my dream since I've picked up a camera. It was to be touring and to, travel the world and take photographs of an artist that I really respect and genuinely like his music, and want to go along the journey of watching him from the start. And I think that's one of the most rewarding things that I've ever had. It's really funny, like people always ask me what's my favorite thing about my job, and the most favorite thing for me is it's actually not a personal thing. It's actually like, since we've been involved in this particular team with Rule, it's actually been watching his career kind of rise and being involved with that from the very start. And that's like, it's really hard to put into words what that feels like. And, just seeing how much the fans really are connecting with him and his music. And we notice all of, and there's quite a lot of you on the viewing tonight, which is like actually just blowing me away. But like, it's so cool to see your support and your love, and it's so appreciated. You're all legends, and I know a lot of you were day oneers as well. And yeah, it's super cool to see. So shout out to everybody that's been there from the start, and the ones that have come along recently as well. Like it's all appreciated. The team certainly notices and feels the love, and when we see you lining up at the front and you say hello to us and all of that sort of stuff, like it's wild. And it still takes, Joel and I talk about this all the time, it still blows our mind that who we are and we're like behind the camera, but it's super, super cool. Someone just asked a question, Ines, how do you feel about concerts? Are you afraid? Am I afraid? Right, I'm afraid that I won't get to do them for a long time. No, I'm not afraid. I love concerts, they're my favourite thing. How do you feel about concerts being cancelled? Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, it sucks, because it's like, I think I mentioned this on my Instagram, like, photography for me is the closest thing that I get to like some type of spirituality, really. I feel like yeah, it sounds like so lame, but like I feel it in my soul. I feel like the connection, I feel like this is what I'm meant to be doing, and I have never felt that about anything, any other kind of job that I've had. Like I genuinely like love this with my entire being, especially music photography. There's nothing like shooting a concert and like feeling the energy from the crowd, which is like, sometimes I feel like I'm cheating because like the energy that I'm feeling is not for me, but I can still feel it. It's like I've clocked life or something. It's like, or like I'm not meant to be feeling all of that. That's not for me, but I can still like feel it and appreciate it. And there's like, it's the biggest high on the planet. Like it's so wild. And as someone that's not a performer, I can't even explain to you what that feels like. It's like so cool. What other questions do we have? How do you stay healthy whilst touring? Oh my God, that's such a good question. Like we're constantly taking Armour Force, like the whole team. We're always just like, Armour Force is like, I think it's a combination of like echinacea and a bunch of like multivitamins, but we're like, honestly, it's life-saving. It's really, really tricky to maintain any type of routine while you're on tour. So like there's not one day that's the same, and like you can't really eat properly. Like you just have to, like especially when we're touring Europe and America, like we're on a bus and you'd sleep on the bus and you'd rock up to where the venue was, or potentially you were driving, you might be driving 2 days to get to the next venue, so you don't have any consistency in like eating or like exercise or anything like that. So that's like totally wild. So yeah, it's a really, really weird situation. I can't really explain it, like what it feels like to be on tour. It's like you're living a reality. You're living life, but it's like not anything like anything else that you can experience. I think that's why when you get home and you're like, what do I do? Like this is so weird. Like have space and I have time to myself. It's like super weird. But also I absolutely love it. And I was away quite a few months last year, and it was like my favorite part of everything. So it was super cool. What else? People asking great questions. I've got a bunch of frequently asked questions that I want to get through, but you guys are asking really cool questions, so like I'll definitely get to those. That's Aaron. Aaron saying that the fact that I think the fact that I connect with the energy is what makes your photos so good. It comes through in them. Thank you. That's like such a huge compliment. That's really cool. What are your favorite places that you've visited? Shit. There's so many. God, I'm trying to think of the. Okay, so like basically from October to December is like a blur of last year. So it was like the free time tour. It just went from Australia to America to Europe, and like there wasn't much time. We came back for 2 Shawn Mendes shows. Shout out to anyone that was at those shows. I saw a few of you there. And then we went back to Europe again. So like it's like the days blur into each other, but I definitely remember Dublin because everyone was like super loud and super like, it was really cool. And we were there for a couple of days. I think that's why you remember places that you were there for a few days. Amsterdam was really cool. Chicago, I remember, was really cool. Joel and I had to stay in Chicago for a couple of days by ourselves. So, and then oh my God, that was so funny because Joel forgot his passport on the bus, and then we needed to fly somewhere. It was like such a drama. It was, yeah, so stressful for him, but anyway, sucks to be him. Janice is coming to say hello. Yes, Tilly, Armour Force is the best. What do you do to stay creative and keep your shots fresh? Oh my God, that is the best question, Anna. Okay, so, you know, when you shoot the same set for like 3 months, I guess it could get boring after a while, but I would set like little challenges for myself. First of all, like all the venues are really different. So like in America, all the venues were a lot smaller, which makes it way more challenging. So the lighting's not as good and stuff like that. So already that's like a bit of a challenge where you're in smaller venues, maybe you might not have a barrier. So like, yeah, if you go to most concerts, especially the bigger concerts now, like there's a pit, it's called photography pit, between the stage and the people. But in smaller venues, you don't have that. So it forces you to get creative with angles and like, what lens am I going to use tonight? Am I going to be able to get around the crowd? Like people often see me like darting through or, trying to get a certain spot, within the setup, within the set. So what I usually do is like, I start the tour, and actually this probably ties into like kind of what gear I use. That's one of the questions. So I'm shooting mirrorless, and I shoot with a Nikon Z6, and I just started doing that for the last tour. So this is like completely new to me, and I just got the Nikon 24-70 lens that came with the camera. So like most people would probably not do that. But I was like, you know what? I'm just going to try it out. And it was bloody awesome. And so for the photography heads out there, the 24-70 that comes with the Z6 is an f4. So like most photographers would be like, I'm not going to use this rubbish. But I found it incredible. Like, yeah, it was actually really cool. And I ended up using it for most of the, actually nearly all of the entire free time tour. I used that one lens, with the exception of a couple of the smaller shows where I used a little 50mm, just like a 1.4 or something. Yeah, somebody's just asking what's your go-to camera and lens. For this particular tour, it was the Z6 24-70. I want to try the 2.8, but to be honest, I definitely will try that 2.8. I'm just getting such good results out of the f4, which is actually blowing my mind, because like f4 lenses are usually just shit, like so shit. So yeah, Lucinda's just said that mirrorless life is life-changing. I completely agree. And someone has said, do you prefer Nikon over Canon? I've always shot Nikon. I am all about Nikon. So yes, #Nikon. So that's answering that question. Aisha, is it, saying, I responded to your story and you're over the moon. I love your photography and you draw a lot. Just wanted to say thank you. No worries. To be honest, I've always really liked being connected with as many people as I can. Sometimes it just becomes like a little bit overwhelming, especially on tour. So I generally see most messages. I just don't always get time to respond to them. So this is the other reason that I wanted to do this and answer. I get kind of the same questions all the time, so hopefully this answers some of those questions. Is there a specific moment at a concert that you love, like when he's singing a song and you love shooting? Oh yeah. Well, let's talk about the free time tour. So in the free time tour, Rule did a cover of Pink Matter. And so what I would do is I'd start the set, I'd shoot around, and then for Pink Matter, I would always go into the pit and just sit and watch. I'd always just sit and watch the song because it's one of my favorite songs of all time, and I absolutely loved Rule's version of it. So, I don't know how many times I sat there watching it, but it was, 3 months of it and I didn't get sick of it because I just loved it. Who wouldn't do that if you had that opportunity? So yeah, that's one of my favorite moments from tour. The other thing is that I watched every single sound check, I think except one when I was feeling a little bit shit somewhere, but I just love watching sound check. It's like, I don't know, I think one of the things that this like shit that's going on in the moment, it's like really bringing home how much I love what I do and how grateful I am to do, you know, have been in this position, and I'm so blessed and grateful, and you know, those moments on tour where I could just sit and watch soundcheck. Like, I know that there's so many people that would love that opportunity. Like, it's I would pinch myself and go, this is incredible. Like, this artist is amazing and these people that I get to work with are amazing, and what is my life? So I definitely one of those people that just don't take it for granted ever. So yeah. How do you find being around a bunch of people and to be on all the time? That's a good question, Ellen. I think it was Ellen. I'm actually totally fine with that. Like, I'm very extroverted. I'm not really an introverted person. I'm also really lucky that Joel is the same, and we are like literally besties on tour. I never ever get sick of Joel, and all he does is play pranks on usually me, and it's just hilarious. Like, it's actually so much fun, and I actually don't get sick of it. I don't get sick of any of them, really. Like, I can't even think of a time when I was mad or anything. Like, I just genuinely love the people that I work with. So I think I'm really lucky like that. Someone just said, I see a lot of storytelling in your photos, so why haven't you gone big into music videos? That's actually a really good question. I have directed music videos before. When I started photography, I started music videos as well. I directed some for an artist called Remy. I think I did 2 or 3 for Remy. Definitely did one for Briggs. Who else did I direct for? And I directed a bunch for Jeremy, Grey Ghost. We've so many assistant directing back in the day. I really love assistant directing actually, but I don't know, I just didn't love it as much as I love music photography. Like, I have a different connection to video. Actually, some of you might remember when I was doing video for Rule for like 2 minutes. I fucking sucked at it. So bad. I'm so sorry, anyone that saw the videos that I did. They're so shit. I was trying to do everything, and I'm so bad at video. So like, when Joel came on board, I remember Joel thought that I was going to be really upset, and I was like, no, bro, you don't understand. This is the best thing ever. You are amazing and I am shit. And yeah. So yeah, no, video, not for me. Hard pass. Yeah. What are you saying here? I had sound checked once with you watching Rule, and it blew my mind, just sitting there to soak it up. Yeah, I know. This is why I've watched every single one of them. They're just like amazing. Like, I'm so, yeah. Super cool. Never get sick of it. If you can choose a place where you haven't been yet to tour with the team, where would you choose? Ooh, good question. So hard because I know. There's... I want to go to Brazil because there seems to be so many amazing fans. Actually, I'm going to say Brazil and Argentina because there was someone on the stream from Argentina. And let's just say South America. We need to come to South America ASAP because seems like there's a lot of you. Yeah, so that's cool. Hopefully we get to come there really soon. Yes, okay. So if anyone else has a question, just chuck it in the message thing as well. But I've got frequently asked questions, so I'll answer those, and if you've got any others, I'll try and get to them as well. Okay, so this is my look. I planned. Impressed. Yeah, see, you're from Argentina. Did you know that my mum was born in Argentina? So I have a connection. So I've never been there, so I need to come. Okay, one of the main questions I get is, when did I start? I think I kind of covered that earlier, but I started in 2011. I guess officially in 2011. I got my camera in 2010, so it's been 10-ish years. One of the questions I get the most is like the pathways into music photography. So I just wanted to outline, there's kind of 3/4 pathways. One of them is to shoot with the artist direct. That is my preferred avenue. I guess when I say preferred, it's just like the avenue that I took personally. Mainly because when I started, I didn't understand how you navigated it. So that's just what I did. Just started working with artists. I'll come back to that in a sec. The second way is to work with the venue or the promoter. So you could actually ring up a venue, see if they needed a photographer, or the promoter that's promoting the actual concert. And the third way is through publication. And that's probably the most common way. Like, most music photographers will start out working for online publications. It's not my preferred way, and I've spoken a lot about this. Online publications generally don't pay, so it wasn't an avenue that I wanted to go down. But it's also really, maybe it's good for people to know that, like, music photography, like when you go to a concert and you see all of those incredible photographers that are, shooting those shots, and the ones that you're looking at on Instagram, like the majority of those people are not getting paid. It's really kind of sad state of affairs, in my opinion, but it's when the music media went online, probably about 15 years ago, before my time. But it's also a way to get access to bigger shows. So a lot of people are really drawn to that because they can shoot all the really big shows. So if you want to shoot Drake, or you want to shoot Kendrick Lamar or whatever, that's the best avenue, I guess. I guess for me personally, I went like super grassroots. So I went like local shoot for artists that are, really, really small venues. I probably shot 200 shows in the first year or so. I don't know, I shot some crazy amount of shows. I have shot for publications before, like when I do work, if Kendrick Lamar comes, for example, like I don't have a contact for Kendrick yet. So I would probably shoot for a publication if I wanted to shoot that gig. Having said that, I don't know. I've really gone down the path of wanting to work with artists and collaborate with artists. So you won't see me at some of the bigger shows. It's just not something that like super interests me. Like, I'd rather have a relationship with the artists and have an existing ongoing relationship that you can, really collaborate with the work that you're putting out, rather than just shooting a show and then putting it out. This is me personally. It's probably the opposite of most music photographers, to be honest. But I do really like having really great relationships with artists and collaborating with the stuff that we put out, and stuff like that. So I'm just looking at the questions to see if there's yes, I don't have Argentinian blood really, because my mum's actually Sicilian, my dad's Sicilian, but she was just born there. So anyway, still a connection. So that, like I said, that was my preferred way. Best camera, I've already talked about that. I use the Nikon Z6. I also use a Nikon D4 for my studio work. I haven't really spoken much about my studio work, but honestly, the majority of what I do is in the studio. How I earn the majority of my money is doing press shots for artists. One of the streams that I want to do later in the week is actually go through my folio and my website and tell you how I've achieved certain photographs. If anyone's interested in that, I thought that could be a cool thing to show you, just talk about different lighting setups and what I do in the studio. Studio's become like, I don't know, it's so funny. When I first started shooting, I was so scared of the studio. Oh, that's one thing I didn't mention from the start. Is I'm completely self-taught, so I didn't like study. I didn't go to uni. I had no idea what I was doing. So everything that I've learned, I've had to like either just trial and error, heaps and heaps of trial and error, or watch YouTube tutorials or stuff like that. So that's something to mention, because I feel like anything that I do is like super achievable. I'm not a tech head at all. I don't really know when it comes to technical photography stuff. I'm much better now because I'm 10 years in, but back in the day I was like totally shit. I had no idea what I was doing. Lots of people saying they're interested in that. That's cool. I'll definitely be doing that stream. That's really good to know. Yeah, super cool. I will do that. Ellen, I'm going to answer your question in a minute about shifting from publications to paid. That's a really good question. But favorite lens, someone asked me about that during the week. That's a really tricky one because it really depends what I'm shooting. Probably my favorite portrait lens would be the 85. I've got an 85 1.4. It's beautiful, beautiful portrait lens. I've just bought the 135 Sigma. It is stunning, absolutely stunning. So been using that a bit. But yeah, I mean, when I talk about favorite lens, I usually talk about my portrait stuff. For live stuff, it really varies. Like, really depends on the venue and what I'm shooting. But if it's a small venue, I'll just whip out the 50mm and shoot the whole thing on 50, which I've done. Like, I remember, I think it was in New York. No, it wasn't New York. It was DC. Yeah, it was DC. We had a really, really tiny venue, and I just got the 50mm out and shot, in this tiny venue, and it looked sick. So, good thing is, with those, I kind of touched on it before, but when you've, been shooting a whole tour, you can get creative and start doing I really like doing slow shutter stuff, or using my fractals, which I should have brought up to show you. I'll do that on another stream. I'll show you my fractals and what they look like and what the results of those are, but they're basically pieces of glass that you hold in front of the lens, and it gives a different effect. So they're really fun to play with, and you never get the same result. It's it always looks really different. So, and yes, I'll talk about that. Someone asked about, do I change lenses during a concert? It depends. If it's a really big show, like for example, when we supported Shawn Mendes, or when Rule supported him, I didn't support him, but when Rule supported Shawn, it was in such a huge venue, and I definitely needed, I think I took the 135 for that one, just because you'd probably want maybe a 20, I don't use my 70 to 200 anymore on my mirrorless, but you'd probably want something like that maybe. Just a longer lens because it's such a massive venue. But generally, to be honest, I pretty much shoot nearly exclusively on the 24 to 70 now. I never used to. I used to always shoot with two bodies. I used to shoot with the D4 and the D750, and I used to do a 28 and a 85. That was my favorite combination. And then when I went to mirrorless, I was like, fuck it, let's keep it simple. Also, when you're touring, you just don't want to take a lot of stuff with you. So I'm very much about minimal gear. I'm the opposite of heaps of tour photographers that I see. Some of the guys I see at tour, they open up their kit and they got 1,500 things and so many cameras and lenses. I like to keep it really simple and try and get the best out of my gear, if that makes sense. So I try and really push the gear that I have to get the best out of it, if that makes sense. Somebody asked what programs I use, and that's definitely one of the streams that I want to do, is to take you guys through Lightroom and Photoshop, especially Lightroom, because that's predominantly what I use. I'm not amazing in Photoshop. I can do some bit of retouching, but Lightroom is like essentially what I use. So yeah, people ask me that all the time. Somebody asked how did I learn, and I mentioned that I was self-taught. I saw someone mention this before, and I get asked this all the time. They say, they ask, can I assist you or do work experience? I haven't worked out a way of making that work yet, and I think that's part of why I wanted to start these streaming as well, is because what we do is, it's really hard just to bring someone in that's not aware of the team, or and it's not that I don't want to, it's just like navigating that can be really tricky, especially on tour. So I guess I'm trying to work out ways where I can share as much information as possible, and provide opportunities if I can't shoot something, rather than physically be with me. It would be very hard to navigate that, I think. But not to say, I know that there's definitely people that do that. So there's definitely a way of doing it. I just haven't really worked a way of doing it yet. Stay tuned, we'll see. Number 10, can you tell Rule? No, I can't tell Rule anything, so stop asking me. I'm not passing on any messages to him because I have 50 million messages saying, can you show Rule something? So no, I can't. I'm sure you understand. It's a lot. Do I have anything on the next page? Oh, I do. Yes. Anybody have any other questions? Oh, what camera bags do you tour with? Oh, that's a good question. I'll find out. So bad with brands and shit. I have a really good one. I'll show you on a different stream. It's cool. Do you think in photography it's important to have a visual identity, something that people can see in a photo that's your style? Yeah, I mean, it's a hard thing to even teach. Like, I didn't feel like I had a style for years. I think people now tell me that I have a style, but it's always evolving as well. I used to do faded blacks heaps. So like this was a thing years ago. It was like have more muddy kind of blacks. I've kind of gone away from that now. Yeah, I don't know. I go through stages. I'm always trying to experiment and do new stuff. Or I see, there's so many amazing music photographers doing stuff, and you see something and you're like, holy shit, that's so cool. And then you try it and go, oh, that's not for me, or whatever. Like just, creative, trying to be as fluid as possible and not stuck in like a box, I guess. That's really big for me anyway. But the main thing for me is like trying to produce quality work. Fast turnaround is really important on tour as well, like really fast turnaround, making sure stuff is available to post whenever for Twitter or Instagram or, Facebook. We were doing Facebook albums last tour, so it's a lot of content that you have to get out really quickly, because you don't want to spend the whole time editing. Like you actually want to be able to, if we're in Copenhagen, I want to see Copenhagen. I don't want to be editing in Copenhagen. So, Megan, do you calibrate your monitors? No, I have never done that. Teach me. I've got no idea how to do that. I'm really bad with tech stuff. So, do you just have a shared Google Drive Dropbox? I do. Yeah, for all the Rule content stuff, we when you're on tour, it's just all Dropbox, and yeah, just means that everyone has access to it. And I usually send out, once they've been approved, the Rule gets to approve everything, because he's the client. It goes out to the whole tour party. So that means that, if Bo wants to post something or Caesar wants to post something, that there's photos of them. That's the other thing that's really important too, is like making sure that you get photos of the entire crew, because like we're all part of the team. So like it's really important to give everyone content that they can share. So, you know, it's not just about getting great photos of Rule, but making sure the whole team is covered and they've got stuff they can post on socials. And yeah, it's super fun as well. The good question, it's actually coming up. What camera would you recommend to a teenage beginner? It's one of the things that I want to mention later on for 10 points for newbies. It actually doesn't matter. Like, people ask me this all the time, and it's like, out of all the questions that I get asked, what camera do you use, or what camera should I use? It just doesn't matter. Like, honestly, just start out with whatever you have and get really, really good at using it. I'm really adamant that you can make pretty much everything work. So whatever the cheapest thing that you can find, like, and then as you progress, you know, you might start to learn that the demands of what you need. You might need something that's a bit better in low light or whatever. You'll work it out. But most of us started with entry level basic cameras and you know, made it work. So you can just don't worry about that. It's not important. Even with film stuff, like the 2 film cameras that I took on the last tour, one of them cost me like $40. I think the other one was like $60. Like, it's not, honestly, just if you've got your iPhone and you want to take photos, maybe not concert photography, that might be tricky, but iPhones are pretty amazing. If you want to take photos, you can take photos. We live in a world right now that, like, the one thing that you can do with the technology that you have in your hand is take photos. So, like, make use of that. I'm not one of those people that is against creativity that comes through forms of technology like the iPhone. So go wild and create. Odd question, but how tall are you? That is hilarious. I'm nearly 5'10". I don't know, 5'9" and a bit, I think. Ex-basketball player, so I have a bit of height. How do you navigate shooting someone that is a lot taller than you? It doesn't really make a difference, really. I have never thought about that. Nah, got nothing. Don't think it really makes a difference. It just maybe change where you're standing. I don't know. That's a funny question. Yeah, have never really thought about it. I think it was Jacob that asked me who's the artist that I would like to work with the most. Shout out Jacob. Kendrick Lamar, without a doubt. I would die if I worked with Kendrick. I have this really, I wish I could show you. I have to work out how to do this. So basically the wall that is like here, is like a wall, is like a photo that I took of Kendrick Lamar at a concert, and I got it blown up, and it's like the whole wall of him standing there. It's like, it's like praise to Kendrick, basically, in my house. And it's, yeah, but I haven't worked with him one-on-one. So like when I say I want to, you know, who I'd like to work with, it's like, you know, portrait kind of vibe. That would be my dream. So Kendrick Lamar, Frank Ocean, I would love. Kanye, I love Kanye. Even though he's a dick, I still love him. Soz, problematic favourite. Biggest inspiration, someone asked as well. You can actually see it in a lot of, you probably can see it in more of my hip hop work, and I'll go through this when I go through my folio at some stage, but like, biggest inspiration for me is like, I was really inspired by 90s hip hop photography, and you can definitely see that in my work when I first started. Jonathan Mannion is the GOAT, and he's my favorite photographer, and I was really, really inspired by the work that he was doing. Even like now, he's just incredible. So yeah, a lot of the imagery that I was really inspired by was 90s hip hop stuff. It was the stuff that I was listening to as a teenager, so kind of makes sense. Let's have a look. Would you ever consider vlogging or starting a YouTube channel? Or could that compromise your I mean, I feel like there's a lot of content that goes out from touring. So, I mean, I don't think I would do it personally. I'm also just too busy, I think, on tour. It'd be a bit tricky. Is there a lens for beginners in music photography? Oh, there's a lens. Yes. Very cheap. Let me just say that again. There's a lens for beginners in music photography that I'd recommend. It's the Canon 50mm 1.8, very cheap. There's a similar one for Nikon as well. So that's a really good recommendation. Thumbs up to, is that Ollie? Is that your name? Yeah, really, really good recommendation. Yeah, 50mm is like, they call it a nifty 50 for a reason. It's like you can get away with a lot with one lens. Tip. How do you transfer and deal with all your photos that you shoot at a gig? Yeah, so I definitely have to show this process at some stage, but I basically import everything onto an external hard drive, and they're imported into Lightroom, so I don't keep anything on my computer. I have everything on an external hard drive, and then when I export to my hard drive and I export to Dropbox. So I've always got 2 copies, just in case. So yeah, the client would usually get whatever I put in Dropbox, and then I'd keep a copy. Yeah, so that's a good question. I think maybe, with the person that's being tall, they might be worried about up the nose shots. Yeah, that's a good point, Britt. I guess like when you're shooting an artist, like you just always got to look for the most flattering angles, and like up the nose generally is not a vibe. Come here, Jetta. Try not to shoot people up the nose. There's not many people that look, I mean, Rule probably still looks good, but you know, most people don't. Thanks, Britt. Britt has put another podcast that I did, which was how to become a rock star photographer. That's a really great podcast just for information in general, not just my own one, but heaps of incredible photographers have been on there. I think Maddie Vogel and Josiah, who's Sean's photographer. Yeah, really great people that have been on there. So definitely check out that podcast for sure. How long have I been? Oh my God, it's been going for an hour at least. I've got a couple of more points that I'll get through and then maybe wrap it up for tonight. If anyone's got any other questions, just, yeah, let me know. Struggles, struggles being a freelancer, I guess. I don't know where to start. It can be a huge struggle when you first start. Like the main thing is like, how do you get that consistent work? Actually, one of the questions was before about how do you go from shooting for a publication into free work, into paid work. It's a really, really tricky thing to navigate. And I might need to touch on that at another time because there's a bit in that. It's very much about relationship building and valuing yourself and your work and being confident in being able to set a price, and there's a few things in that, but I think one of the main struggles for freelancers is getting that continuous work, and that usually takes, for me it probably took 5 years to get into a real flow where I wasn't chasing work. The work was coming to me and I felt like, this is a legitimate career, but learning how to set your rates and again, like valuing your work, that's probably one of the biggest struggles with being a freelancer in general, just like general confidence and backing yourself. Someone asked if I get bored. I can genuinely say that I never ever get bored. The only time maybe I would get bored is like on tour. Sometimes it can, you might be sitting around for hours and hours waiting for the show or something, but even then, like, we usually entertain ourselves. But as far as day to day, I love my job so much. I'm like the most fortunate person. So I don't ever get bored. somebody asked me what my favorite thing is about my job. Definitely the connection that I have with people. So I am really big on, I guess, like making friends with the people that I work with and having a really genuine connection, and that, you know, after the shoot we would have an, you know, existing relationship. It's not just about the photo shoot, but it's really about like connecting with that person, and there's an element of trust that comes along with being able to take someone's photograph. So that's really important to me. So yeah, they were all my main questions. Does anybody have anything else? Did you take a photo to Sean or of Sean? You might mean of Sean. I did. Josiah said that I could shoot the set, which was sick. There's a couple of photos on Instagram that I took of Sean, which was awesome. Yes, Brit's good about the How to Be a Rockstar Photographer. It's a really great podcast. So there's a photo of Rule singing on the floor that's so amazing. Oh, cool. Yeah, I think maybe you might mean the one in Amsterdam. Maybe it's one of my favorite shots as well. Alan and Brittany have just realised it's each other. That's very cute. How much experience do you need before contacting a publicist or a publication or artist directly? It depends on the size of the artist that you're talking about working with. If you're talking about like, you know, grassroots entry level kind of bands that have just started, I don't think you really need any experience. Like everyone's at the same, and that's literally how I started. I was working, you know, with people that were just doing their first gigs, or, you know, really, really small artists at really small venues, and that's really a good way to start. Or if your friends are in a band, like that's honestly the best way to start out, is just like asking your friends if you can take photos for them. So definitely don't need any experience. If you're talking about shooting for a publication or shooting for a bigger artist, you definitely want a portfolio of work to prove that, you know, you can do the job. And that only comes with working with those smaller artists that I spoke of. So that's usually the best way of going about it, I'd say. How do you keep track of your earnings? I use a software called FreshBooks, the accounting software. It's really cool. Yeah. When would you start an online portfolio? That's a good question. I'd just start when you have some stuff to put up there. I mean, like, to be honest, Instagram is like really become everyone's portfolios. I have a website which I do find really useful. Some people think that you don't need that anymore. I still think it's probably, you know, as you got more into the more professional world, it's probably important. But if you were just starting out, Instagram's probably going to be totally fine, to be honest. Just pop your work up there and show people what you do, and yeah. Bree just got home. Is there any way to save? This is recording, so you can watch this whenever you like. I hope it's recording. That would be so funny if it wasn't. No, it is. Okay, so I'm going to end, because this has been going forever. I'm going to end on my top 10 pointers for newbies. And some of them I might have covered, but we'll just touch on them really quickly. Would you consider doing portfolio reviews? Potentially. Yes, why not? That could be a thing. I'll just put that as a maybe for now. We'll see how we go. Okay, so my top 10 pointers are: number 1, start small, shoot, you know, smaller artists, little venues, grassroots. Number 2, immerse yourself in the culture of whatever you want to be shooting. So if it's music and there's a particular genre that you like just go to all the gigs, you know, start knowing all the people in that particular genre. It's really going to help you if you want to kind of get a foot in the door, I guess. Number 3, practice shooting every single day. No excuses. Just go out and practice. Doesn't matter what you're shooting. You can shoot your dog, you can shoot your best friend, whatever. I mean, we're all isolated at the moment, so maybe you could practice some still life. Shoot. Make this mug, that's a good challenge. Make this mug look amazing. Oh, there's my Armour Force, by the way. Check out my Armour Force. Don't ask me. I found this this little cap thing in somewhere in Europe, and it now stays on my Armour Force. But anyway, yeah. Make that look good. Whatever just shoot whatever. Photo challenges. Number 4 tip is set little challenges for yourself. Learn new techniques all the time. I basically at the start of every year, I will set myself a challenge. So I remember one year was like, okay, I suck at studio photography. I need to get really, really good at studio photography. And I just all I did was shoot in a studio, and I really hated it at the start, and I was really bad, but then I got really good at it, and now I love it. I absolutely love the studio now. So practice. Number 5, I mentioned this before, but don't worry about the camera that you have, not important. Just shoot with whatever you have, and just get as good as you can with the tools that you have. It's not important to have expensive or new or whatever, just make use of what you have. Number 6 for me is follow other photographers, see what other people are doing and learn from them and grow with them and make a little community of people and connect. And that's one of my favorite things about being involved in music photography in Australia is the incredible community that we have. And there's people here tonight, and you guys are amazing. It's super important. I think it just helps you. It helps you be better. It actually, everyone, looking at other people's work just helps you be a better photographer. So that's really important. Number 7, contact bands and artists and establish relationships. It's the number 1 tip for me because I didn't go down the publication route. I really, quite literally made friends with artists, and then they hired me to take photos. So it's a really hard thing to teach, just go be friends with people. I understand that sounds really stupid, but I think if you start small and immerse yourself in a culture, it's really possible. Number 8 is then relationships within the industry. So these are PR people. PR people are so important to us. Be nice to publicists. If you're not nice, they will black ban you. So be really nice to them. Yes, I have been black banned before. We won't talk about that now, but just be nice. It wasn't from me not being nice, by the way. But yeah, relationships within the industry. Yes, that's really important, I think, to get the paid gig. So it's promoters and venues, just people within the industry. You just, if, for example, if you're in Australia, places like Big Sound, really good place to be where there's lots of industry people that you can get to know, essentially, and let them know who you are and show them your work. So number 9 is practice on the software that you have. Become really good at it. Lightroom, practice on Lightroom. I had Brit in the studio a couple of weeks ago, showing her a couple of things. I mean, she knew most of everything, but just a couple of tips here and there. Presets, I'm a huge fan of presets. Some people don't like them, but I'm all about them. So grab some presets, have a little play around with them. And number 10, don't be afraid to share your work. Just you're not going to get better unless you put it out there and get feedback from people and know what's working, what's not working. Also, don't be too worried about likes. The best thing that's ever happened on Instagram is they took away likes. It's amazing. But you can also get feedback from other people. You'll see that people gravitate towards certain shots. For me, it's rule, anything that I post rule related, obviously. I have other work, guys, love me for me, not just for rule. I'm kidding. It's fine. I'm not kidding, but I'm kidding. That's my top 10 tips. So, yes, I'll just quickly go through, what have we got? We've got some amazing people here. I should start a Patreon. I could. I probably will need to think about something like that soon. So, that's a good question. How many photos do you usually take during a concert, and how to decide which ones you keep? Okay, I usually take about 1,000, which is way too many. And I used to say this to Joel, every night I would be like, I'm not going to take as many photos tonight. I'm just going to chill. And every night I would take 1,000 fucking photos. I got really, really fast at being able to edit those photos and turn them around. So knowing the photos that I don't know, it's really hard like to actually explain how you know which ones are the ones. You just know it. Don't know how to explain that. You just know. And this is just from practice. So what happens when you first start shooting is you think everything is great or you think everything is sucks. It's one of the two. You start getting good at honing in the shots, whether it's, it's usually the composition or the lighting or something that works really well. So, and I just got really fast at turning those around. So, I could do 1,000 photos in under an hour, just super quick, like just get that shit out. Not much time for finesse, but I also feel like, I was doing my best work at the end of the last tour and I was, editing that stuff in 45 minutes. So, just getting really quick and knowing what you like and what angles work, and you've got the money shots and the moments in the set that really popped or whatever. So, how do you feel when you see people summarize? The question is basically, people always relate to Rule when they're talking to me. They always try and make it about him. It's fine. Like, I think all of us have got used to it now. It is what it is. He's super popular. We're all connected to him in a way. So, it's fine. It's mostly when people say, can you show him this? I'm like, no, absolutely not. Other than that, it's fine. Sorry, Ellen, about number 10 is a kick in the guts. Just share your work. Just give it to the world. Yes, I will continue to do this. I was going to ask you, while you're on tour, is your editing workflow purely presets? Yes, it is. It's purely presets because I don't have very much time. But having said that, it's like a preset that I've made from a preset that I've made that I've, I keep refining the preset even within the gig sometimes, like, if that makes sense. So I start with a preset and that's like my base, and then I apply it to everything and see how it's like looking over everything, and then I'll tweak. So there's always tweaks within, every shoot really. So, but yes, it makes sense. Like, there's some people that are dead against them. Whatever. I love them, so whatever. It works for me. How often do you think you will be doing a live stream? I don't know. If you guys keep thinking of topics that I can talk about, I'll do them as often as you want. This is fun. This has been great. I was not expecting this many people to be here. So if you throw out topics and stuff that you want, yes, I'll keep doing them. Can you show us how to, yes, I'll show you how to set up basically a preset is just like something that you can find, either you can purchase them or you can find them, like you can download them for free. I think Britt, you might, if Britt's still in the stream, I think she downloaded 10,000 or something the other day. So funny, yes. Next topic, how you got blacklisted. I'll save that for another day, but just be careful what you post on social media. That's what I'll say. That's such a funny question. Okay. I mean, I feel like that's enough for tonight. It's nearly an hour and a half. This is, amazing. So many people popped in. I'm super stoked. I definitely want to continue. I've made some notes about other lessons that I want to do. Definitely want to go through my website and show you, I guess, end result stuff, and then talk about how did I achieve that. So there's some super technical stuff in there. There's stuff like long exposure or, flash photography or like a bunch of stuff that we can talk about. Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully everyone's enjoyed this. Thanks so much for coming along for the ride. Shout out to Aaron again, who just worked tirelessly to get this thing set up. It all worked really well. He's got this little cool thing. Actually, I can't do it. Can I do it? No. I'll do it another time, but basically when I'm showing you what's on my screen, I can be in like the box as well. Is what all the gamers do when they're playing games on Twitch. So it's really cool. And thanks Katie, thanks Megan. Aaron's there still, Ash. Who else is there? Britt is still there. Is it Fee? Is that how F1? Argentina person? 7 a.m. My God. Yeah, like shout out to you guys. Anna, Simone, all of you people that have watched. I know Jacob was here earlier. Yeah, thank you. I'm going to end the stream. Stop. Yeah, we'll see you guys soon. See you next time. Bye.